Hello, this is Todd Luck, and this is a review of the Tarzan 3 3/4 inch action figure from Boss Fight Studio. This is part of their Hero Hacks line, and so both Tarzan and his lovely wife Jane both have shipped. I pre-ordered them and got them both, but for this review, we're going to just be looking at Tarzan Lord of the Jungle. And we'll be taking a look at Jane in a separate video. So these figures are on the 3 3/4 inch scale, and I find that very exciting because of all the different things you can get to pose with them. And as you can tell, I may have went a little bit overboard with getting stuff to pose with my Tarzan, and I'm going to show you all that. So 6 and 7 inch figures are definitely catching up with all the different options they have for displays, right? There's just been a ton of stuff put out in that scale. But to me, 3 3/4 inch figures are still the king for stuff like this. And I'm going to show you why in this review. But first, let's take a look at this glorious Tarzan figure. And so in my review of their Zorro figure, I already did a rant about how much I love Boss Fight Studios packaging for this line, and it is the exact same size as a normal 3 3/4 inch figure package, except it's just horizontal instead of vertical, which lets you have more room for this glorious painting, which looks absolutely beautiful. This is collector friendly packaging. You're going to be able to slide the figure and all the accessories in and out of without damaging it. It's got a little tab here that you can fold up if you want to hang it. Of course, it also just stands perfect. You know, you can display it either way. And if you turn it around, you've got your bio on the back. I'll let you guys pause and read that if you want. And you've got, your cross cell showing all the different figures in this wave, both Tarzan and Jane, who again we'll be looking at in a separate review. So to open the figure, you just open this flap at the end, and then you're going to pull out the card. And so then you're just going to take Tarzan out of his shell here. And so the thing I love about their packaging is that all of this is kept in without tape. And it's just kept in by these little bitty pegs like this that just go over the accessory or the figure to hold it inside, so you can easily just pop in and out everything in here. So you can take it out and then just put it right back in when you're ready to store it. It's fantastic. And so here's the figure with all of his accessories, and a very nice bonus. You turn that packaging around, slide the card back in. It makes a great backdrop for your figure. And I love the fact that they included the Burroughs doodad, and that's a symbol that Burroughs would put on a lot of his novels and stuff, and you'll see that on a lot of official Burroughs merchandise. It's just a really nice touch. So looking at the accessories, he does come with a spear, and it's nice and shiny at the top here, and it is a little sharp. I am poking myself a little bit here. And of course he comes with his father's hunting knife, his iconic weapon. He comes with a ton of different hands we'll take a look at. And then he also comes with a figure stand. Now this looks very nice. However, I cannot get any of these pegs to actually work on his feet. However, of course, as you can see, he doesn't need a stand at all. He stands just fine on his own. However, if you do need a stand for more dynamic poses, pretty much any generic 3 3/4 inch stand should work for him quite well. And taking a look at the sculpt, it is fantastic. So obviously Tarzan doesn't wear a lot of clothes, but he does have a lot of detail in that body. And we can see, all this detail in his muscles, and it just works really, really well. Here's what he looks like from the back. I think he's a little more attractive on the front, but it still looks quite nice, and you can see all the detail in his hair. The face sculpt is kind of interesting. So when they were showing the inspirations that they were using for the figure, they showed a Frank Frazetta painting from Tarzan and the Ant-Man. And I can definitely see that in the head sculpt. It's definitely a different look for the character. I prefer a more traditionally handsome Tarzan myself. And there's certainly no shortage of different looks for the character to draw from. And I hope we see different head sculpts inspired by different versions of the character. And, maybe we could even see likenesses from the movies themselves, maybe Johnny Westmuller or Christopher Lambert or somebody like that. They are already doing movie figures in their Zorro line, so here's hoping. But I think it's fine for a first head sculpt. Maybe just giving us the most unusual one up front is a good way to start. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. The loincloth is nicely detailed. It has a nice texture, a lot of wrinkles, and we can also see the sheath there. And of course, those details go all the way around. So underneath the loincloth, he does have jungle briefs on, but I don't think there's a real way to take this loincloth off without taking the figure apart. So, but then again, you might want to do that. There's some people who are motivated like that. I'm not. And also an interesting note is that he does have his locket. This has his parents' picture in it and was part of him discovering his heritage. This is actually removable. It's a separate piece. You can take his head off and remove the locket. But if you do go that route, just try to keep up with it. That locket is hella small. So taking a look at his articulation, he's got arms, elbows. You can rotate all kinds of stuff on his arms and wrists here. He's got ab crunch. He's got, of course, full head rotation. It's on the ball joint. You've got double jointed knees. You've got movement on the feet. You've got all kinds of movement in the legs here. You do just about anything you want a Lord of the Jungle to do, this Tarzan can do. And so the knife is going to fit quite well into the sheath. And he's so articulated you can actually pose him pulling the knife out of the sheath if you want. And so he holds the knife quite well. And by the way, that sheath did rotate. I'm not sure if it's removable or not. I'm not going to try it because I'm not sure if it's supposed to be removed, but maybe it can be. He can get one or two-handed poses with the spear. So here's Tarzan with his open hands. And one note is that if the pegs are a little tight on the hands, take a hairdryer to them on low for about 20 seconds. Boss Fight Studios actually recommends doing that because the pegs are so small. It just helps soften up the plastic to help get them out and make sure nothing, breaks or anything, even though I never had a problem with that with these figures. And here he is ready for a bit of fisticuffs with his closed hands. And then he has a second pair of gripping hands. And the difference here is that these are hinged to move side to side. These are hinged to move up and down on his wrist. So that's kind of cool. One thing to note is that his elbows are not articulated enough to beat his chest or cup his mouth when he's doing the Tarzan yell. This could be solved in future versions of the character if they give him double jointed elbows. So this is an absolutely amazing figure. My only minor complaint is this necklace. It keeps getting kind of bunched up on his head, and it's kind of hard to get it back down into its proper position while you're posing it. But that is a super, super minor complaint because you can take that thing off, and you don't really need it. And as Pixel Dan would say, it's comparison time. Let's compare the new figure with the Tarzan the Epic Adventure figure from the 90s. This is probably the one that would be most comparable because it comes with a spear. As you can see, the old figure also came with a shield. It would come with either a Tarzan badge or a computer disc and an animal. And so I kind of wish, a little bit more had come with the Boss Fight Studio figure. I appreciate all the different hands, but I would have really loved to have had a different head, like a yelling facial expression would have been great, or an alternate facial sculpt would have been fantastic. And of course, it would be awesome if we could get some animals with Tarzan too from Boss Fight. But that being said, obviously the Boss Fight Studios figure is way more articulated, way more detailed, way more realistic, and is a really, really cool collector's item. However, Tarzan the Epic Adventures, this particular one actually has sound. And a quick note on the 3 3/4 inch scale. So older 3 3/4 inch figures like these Kenner Star Wars figures on your right are a little bit smaller than your modern 3 3/4 inch figures like Qui-Gon Jinn on your left there. So Tarzan is definitely more in line with those modern figures, But I think that's fine regardless of which 3 3/4 inch scale they go with. Tarzan is described as being a giant in the novels, so if he is a bit taller than some of the other figures I'm going to pose him with, I'm cool with that. Here's Tarzan with Boss Fight Studios Zorro. Tarzan actually had a block of television on Saturday mornings in the 70s with Zorro and the Lone Ranger, so it's kind of cool to put these two together. There is no Lone Ranger figure from Boss Fight. Hopefully, at some point, they can get a hold of that license. I think it would fit quite well. Boss Fight also puts out figures of another classic jungle hero, Lee Falk's The Phantom. And I don't have this figure yet. I'm waiting for him to put out a version of the Phantom without the blue underwear, but it does look like an amazing figure. And so here's Tarzan with some of his jungle friends. Now, let me just say that I'm going to show you what your options are right now for doing some of these displays, but I hope Boss Fight Studios does come out with stuff like this in the future and we can just get it from Boss Fight because it's going to be way better than the stuff that I'm about to show you. But these are unarticulated figures that are beside Tarzan. I got them off of Amazon for the gorilla, lion, and panther. And then the elephant comes from the Jumanji line. And of course, Tarzan can ride the elephant, which is, a very iconic Tarzan scene. And as an added bonus, the Jumanji elephant even has sound. So let's talk team-ups. Obviously, Tarzan fought Predator in the classic Dark Horse miniseries from the 90s, Tarzan versus Predator at the Earth's Core. And so we have Predator here from Hiya Toys. There's also some reaction figures of Predator, but the Hiya Toys will give you a wide variety of fully posable, collectible Predator figures on the 3 3/4 inch scale. Tarzan actually met Batman in another miniseries from DC Comics. And I just have the most current Batman 3 3/4 inch figures. There's a lot of other options. And the Catwoman in that particular miniseries was actually African, but a customizer could probably fix that on that Catwoman figure. Or maybe she'll get a proper costume in the next movie and we'll have a figure of a black Catwoman. That would be awesome. And so, of course, Tarzan has fought various dinosaurs, most notably in the novel Tarzan at the Earth's Core. And so there are plenty of options for 3 3/4 inch scale dinosaurs in the Jurassic Park line. And so there's a ton of different dinosaurs. You could have Tarzan fight, or you could have them eat Tarzan, whatever you want. And so there's quite a few figures out there that could easily fit in with just Tarzan in general. So, for instance, the figure of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson actually came with that Jumanji elephant, so he could be an ally or enemy there. We've got Shauna the She-Devil, that's Kazar's wife from the Marvel Universe line, and right now she's just substituting in for Jane. Hopefully Jane doesn't get too jealous there. And then we have a figure from Pirates of the Caribbean, and I apologize, it's been forever since I've seen those movies, so I can't tell you who this character is. But he could be all kinds of stuff. He could be an ally or enemy of Tarzan. Maybe he's Mugambi. And so that brings me to the biggest mother lode of figures that fit in with Tarzan on a 3 3/4 inch scale, and that's Indiana Jones. And so I think Sean Connery to your left makes a pretty good Professor Porter, and I think Indy without his hat and his whip actually makes a pretty good all-purpose character. I actually like this one for Albert Werper, the villain from Jewels of Opar, but it's up to you whether you want them to be friends or foes. It's even got warriors that could be from a lost civilization that Tarzan has stumbled on. Speaking of foes, a lot of Tarzan's bad guys in the novels come from the Middle East, and so you can use Indiana Jones villains to fill that out quite well. And one note on Monkey Man is that his monkey sits on his shoulder by wrapping its tail around his arm. And so that could be a way that Boss Fight could get a Nekima that could sit on Tarzan's shoulder. That would be cool. And there's plenty of different options for soldiers for Tarzan to fight in the Indiana Jones line, but there's also some more modern collectible figure lines that have World War II German soldiers and stuff like that. And the Indiana Jones figures come with plenty of accessories, including different treasures that Tarzan could find in lost cities, and of course, plenty of snakes. And of course, you could always just have Tarzan do a straight team up with Indiana Jones. And the Indiana Jones line also has several playsets, including this one from the Crystal Skull, which I've been using as a backdrop. And it's even got a whip tied to a tree that you could pretend is a vine for Tarzan to swing on. And if you're looking for figures on that scale that could be knights from the novel Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle, or could be Greco-Roman soldiers from Tarzan and the Lost Empire, those do exist. Boss Fight Studios made stuff like that, but it's currently, I think those are kind of out of stock. I would love to see them, kind of do another run of those figures, because I think there definitely would be some folks that might be interested in posing them with their Tarzan. And just to show you how incredibly thorough the 3 3/4 inch scale is, this is an image from Tarzan the Untamed where Tarzan is taking a Gatling gun to some German soldiers. And you would think like, wow, that's a really old Gatling gun. Finding that on a 3/4 inch scale would be impossible. But it turns out that there is a Gatling gun from the World War II era that actually looks just like that you can buy for $25. It is really crazy, all the stuff you can do on this scale. So yeah, if there's anything from the novels or the comics or the movies or whatever you want to recreate, chances are you can do it on this scale. This is just such an exciting, super cool figure. And so, yes, my sad, lonely ape man, we will be looking at your wife next week in a review, and we will see what Tarzan and Jane look like together. Until then, like and subscribe for more videos. And until next time, see ya.